What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Underdogs Podcast. We're on episode number 2 now. As always, my name is Jordan Daly. With me, we've got Craig Smith, Mike Taylor, and we got a special guest this week.
Jared Dudley, my guy, an SEC Player of the Year. Obviously, it was on one of the greatest BC teams that started off 20-0, All-American, Big East Most Improved. Dude, let's just talk about the first time. The first time I saw you, bro. This is at ABCD camp. He was playing on Dwight Howard's team, and I noticed what you were doing, the intangibles, the little things, the things that really get your team going. I remember then later in the fall, Al Skinner has said, hey, we picked up this guy named Dudley, and then on the first day, I don't know if you remember this, when we were playing pickup, you was just dominating, bro. You was getting everything. And I was over there like, yo, what is going on? But at the same time, like, for me, it was cool because I kind of already had, like, watched you a little bit and, like, I loved your game. And the fact that I felt like you was coming to BC was, like, going to be, like, such a great addition because you were just such a great player with such intangibles and we had a really high IQ. And for me, even seeing that just by you playing with Dwight Howard, that's how I knew you was going to be a really great talent at BC, man.
I mean, yeah, man. I mean, that question is a lot to digest when you talk about it. First thing first, like the ABCD camp, Dwayne Williams, I don't know if you remember him at this time. This is when they had rankings. He was the number 1 8th grader in the country, right? I played on his team for the Rising Stars, right? His dad was the one that told me how ABCD did their all-star, how you become an all-star. There's a point system they do by you have to hit a 3, have to have at least 3 or 4 rebounds, 3 assists. So I knew basically the point system of what to do it. So even though it's an individual, you're trying to get to all-star, it's also team. You know what I'm saying? So the wins and losses really don't matter. Even though I'm a guy who wants to win, I just knew, hey, 3 or 4 rebounds, 3 assists. I have to hit at least 1 3. So I'm checking the boxes each time. And if I remember back, if you look at that was the last class of high schoolers. JR made it, Livingston, Bassey, Josh Smith, and I was the only player on the All-Star team that wasn't ranked. So also too, I mean, I don't remember you know, especially being from the West Coast, I declared for prep school. And when I declared for prep school, I didn't even want to go to prep school. I was already, I qualified. I had all of it. But the thing about me was being a late bloomer. I was obviously Player of the Year in San Diego, won a CIF, won a state championship. But my biggest offer was San Diego State late. And at this time, San Diego State wasn't what they were with Kawhi Leonard. If my LA people remember Evan Burns, who was supposed to go to UCLA from Fairfax, he had that. So for me, it was I wanted to go to prep school. Or play the summer circuit basketball. So you know how. So now me being 18, I turned 18 in July. So instead of being the youngest, now I'm the oldest in the summer circuit. So I got to play with Dwight Howard, beat Dwight Howard in the Atlanta Celtics with Javaris Crittenton, Josh Smith, and the Rising Stars. Beat them. We beat them at Bob Gibbons in North Carolina. My teammates at this time, we never even practiced. Jordan Farmer, pro. Nick Young, pro. Lorenzo Mata, UCLA. We had so many pros at that time, man. And so for me was, AAU's taken off so much back then. But for me, like it was still coming around. I was from San Diego. San Diego had no buzz. You had to go to LA, play with LA teams. And so for me, BC was the perfect fit where it was a high major. I could play right away. I didn't even know anybody. You and Sean were from California. So now Al Skinner was like, hey, listen, man, we need you and you need us. So I think it's going to be a perfect marriage. And he was a man of not that many words. So end up being a perfect fit. If I could have got a scholarship to UCLA or USC, there's no way I would have had the career I did at BC.
I mean, you did some really good things. Every year you got better. You see what I'm saying? Especially in my eyes, because like I started to see it. You started to make my job so much easier on certain things because I felt like I was getting double teamed a lot, and you was a guy who was able to knock shots down, make the right play, or go get a bucket for us when we needed it. You feel what I'm saying? And that was something that I felt like was truly special Like, especially for me, because I'm like, I can actually chill out and do some other things. But I was trying to get like triple doubles and stuff because it's just like I'm gonna just keep feeding you the ball. It was one game. What was that, Villanova? Do you have like 30 in the first half? You remember
Yeah,
that game?
no, I do remember it. It's just tough now, man, because now you got these one and dones. Obviously, I wasn't ready to go after 1 year. I had time. Just like in high school, I wasn't the best player to my senior year. Nate Carter, who won Player of the Year before I did in San Diego, went to Oklahoma. You were our best player, so it gave me 3 years to develop. So if you look at my numbers, it's not like I didn't shoot 40 from three to my senior year. Now, my three ball wasn't that my freshman year. So a lot of these kids have to come in. They got 6 months. I had 3.5 years to be able to prepare for that. Prepare your body. A lot of these guys, like, mentally, you go through the Big East and ACC. Boeheim, Calhoun, Krzyzewski, that prepares you. It prepared me to play 14, 15 years. You know what I'm saying? Because then you've seen it all. You get to work on your game. And a lot of these guys, they don't have that time. So having someone like you, I can develop slowly. It's not like I have to get thrown into the fire and make mistakes, because you can learn. You can learn slowly. And a lot of these kids don't have that. Don't have that opportunity anymore.
I wanted to know a little bit about your childhood, your path as you was growing up in the game. When did you realize that you was good enough to kind of go all the way? Like being able to play multiple positions, also offensively and defensively, being able to like guard multiple positions. Like when when did that kind of all kind of click for you?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. In San Diego, there's a coach named by Marlon Wells. Marlon Wells is now he does girls coach for Bishops, and one of the best, most successful, women's coach, stuff like that. Had Sharday Houston, who went to UConn. He had Candace Wiggins, who went to Stanford. So he was someone who put all these people in positions. And he was a guy that when back in the day, you get in the van, you drive out to Dallas, you play in the BCIs. There's so many of these different tournaments that he made a play in. We would, in San Diego, the one hood you have in San Diego is the Southeast. We would practice outside. He'd have us run the tracks. It was a team that we picked up full court pressing. And at this time, I'm out of shape, fat, short. And so I'm having now to play a speed where my body's not conditioned. So I had my mind was ahead of my body at that time. So he's over there pushing me to get that. I really knew by the time I was done with him entering my freshman year, now I get ready to go to Horizon. And Zach Jones puts it all together for me. Zach Jones, even before I got to Horizon, they won 5 or 6 CIF championships. So he was the 6'5" black coach who played at San Diego State, played a couple years in the league, and now he was an intimidator. So now I had Marlon, who brought my upbringing and got me my toughness, and now he's the coach that brings the toughness and now the basketball IQ on to say, hey, now here's how we're going to play. Here's how we're going to switch defenses. This is when you had the diamond in one defense. You're going against someone who's really good offensively, and then now my body. Now I hit a growth spurt. Now I'm 6'5" junior, and now I'm playing power forward. But at this time, when teams pressed us, I was a secondary ball handler to bring the ball up on the press. Coaches developing me. I'm now shooting threes my senior year. And it all clicked. And then once you win, I won State Player of the Year, CIF Player of the Year. And now I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, hey, listen, our one loss was Westchester. Westchester at this time, everyone remembers, they were number one in the country. LeBron beat them, and when LeBron had the 50 after the jersey sales when he got in trouble, LeBron had 50. It's a Trevor Ariza, Bobby Brown. Man, they were loaded. Man, they had like 7, 8 D1 players. That was the only loss we had. I'm thinking I'm 31-1. I'm averaging 28 and 14 in San Diego, and the only I got St. Mary's and San Diego State. To me, it just wasn't adding up, and so. And even when I got to BC, like, let's be honest with you, back then a tweener was considered negative.
Yeah.
Now it's what you want to be. But I was 6'7". They're like, oh, Jerry, you're too small. Play the 4. You're not quick enough to play the 2. So that's really what happened with me. And so it just took a while, and I just kept evolving. And when I first got to the league, I had to guard Braun and Melo. I had to become the junkyard dog. I had to be a defensive guy until, okay, now I go to Phoenix. I shoot 40 from three. Now I'm 3-and-D. And then now I switch it, and now I play the four because I see Draymond doing it his first year. Oh, now I can play the four, and now everyone's a four. And so then now, by that time, everyone caught up to me, and then now I'm at the back end of my career. Now I'm a mentor. So it's just evolving. It's like you guys in this podcast is evolving and getting different people, and people come on. So that's all life is about.
I mean, you definitely like embody this underdog theme that we're going with. So I mean, for me, it's a pleasure to just hear these backstories. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a lot of times that, you know, being a athlete myself, playing in the NBA, it's like you just see it from, you know, the plain eye view. But hearing these backstories, being able to hear the grind, hear the struggle, hear the mentality, you know what I'm saying? Like that's like you embody everything about, you know what I'm saying, the Underdog Podcast. So again, it's a pleasure to have you on. And I love it.
Nah, got to be on, man. Everyone comes from different backgrounds. I mean, obviously, if you're from, I compare myself from the West Coast, being from San Diego. You know, the LA was the pinnacle. That's where you would go. That's where they had the battles. If it was Fairfax, Westchester, there were so many different ones, so many different teams. SCA. When I was growing up, SCA was huge, and so those guys were ranked. But in a way, it's hard for them too because the people are gunning for you. You know what I'm saying? And you have the spotlight, and so, and for someone from San Diego, you only had to grind to find your worth, for you to get recognized. And I always tell young people, man, look, in basketball, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You know, someone's ranked in 9th or 10th grade, and then to be honest with you, you get to college, rankings get thrown out the door. Once we get there, we see guys like Dame go. And we're seeing guys go. John Morant, number 2 pick. Like now, once you get on the same court, like listen, those scouts don't care if you were number 5 as a junior or senior, man. So that's where I always like, let's just get to the dance, and then we get to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So now going from your younger years, I want to talk about your junior to senior year. Because your junior year, you was already fantastic and you was making hellified strides. But your senior year, you even topped that even more. Just go into that. Let's talk about that. Because I know, like, you had to play with me, Bird, and for 3 years. But then going out, and now you the man. You feel what I'm saying? And things just changed for you. You feel me? Like, explain that.
You know what? My plan was to come out our junior year. Our junior year is by far our best team at BC. It was a legit chance. We had a chance to win a national championship. A lot of people had us going to the Final Four. Lost to the buzzer beater to Villanova. And so in my mind, like, if we go to the Final Four, it sets me up to go into, with the buzz, go into the draft. So we lose a game before that. So I go back to school, and then now, I mean, listen, man, we all, if you want to call it bend the rules, stuff like that, like my agent's telling me, like, listen, Jared, for you to be a first rounder, like, you got to shoot the three. Like, it's something that was coming along where people are looking at percentages. So that summer was a big work on my body and work on my three. And it was a big difference of me becoming ACC player of the year, shooting 40 from three, averaging 19-20 in the ACC at that time. We run the flex offense. So if anyone remembers, a regular flex, we have the most tightest flex ever in the history of basketball. Like, so you can't really show anybody your skills. So your skills is really defensively, IQ, and three. And at that time in the NBA, they didn't really mind that because even now it's only 1 or 2 guys handling the ball. The other 3 guys are role players. And so and to me, it was really, really cool because my junior year, I go to Michael Jordan's camp in Santa Barbara. Jordan had a camp. And when I become ACC Player of the Year, when I get drafted, Jordan drafts me. And one thing that he told me was my development from my junior to senior year is him seeing me and that. And so it's a testament, man, of how hard you want to work. And one thing I will say about BC and a lot of these young kids is, hey, listen, it's not about the name. It's about the opportunity. People don't understand my junior and senior year, I led the country in minutes. I never came out. I'm like 39 minutes. I came out for like 20 seconds. So I'm in there. I don't get in foul trouble. So I can do whatever I want. Like literally I can work on it. If I want to post, if I want to bring the ball up, if I want to shoot the three. And I wasn't a selfish player where I'm gonna shoot 100 shots. So with that being said, is like if I go to Duke or Carolina, I'm not playing 39 minutes. No way. It's too many All-Americans. So that's one thing I would just tell about people is picking your school is crucial because it's all about opportunity.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely.
You dropping? No, I was just about to say you dropping a whole bunch of gems, though. You know what I'm saying? So, hope everybody out there, when y'all get a chance, man, lock in. He's dropping a whole bunch of jewels, like picking a school that actually fits your game. You know what I'm saying? Like that's if you're trying to get to the next level, that's the ultimate thing. Like a lot of kids are now just going because, it's Maryland, or is this school, or is this name of the school? Like they chasing like the clout. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you dropping a whole lot of jewels, bro.
It's changing. You know, I know the top 5, top 10 guys. You have the Caliparis and Coach K's, and you definitely, if you can get that, and you're built like that. But there's some guys that you look at the Monty Bates trying to go to Memphis, and you're trying to find your fit, and now you have so many people in these kids' ears, transfers at an all-time high. I mean, we could have done that. I could have transferred my sophomore year being most improved because I could have gone to UCLA and done that and stayed out a year and done that. I mean, my whole thing is you want to have somewhat of your own legacy. You're going to NBA, you can go from a first-round pick to not playing for half a season. How do you respond? It's like that in college. I mean, you don't think these college coaches want to play you? Like, listen, they want to play the best kids. Like, listen, it's like they're not hating on you for no reason. The more you play and do well, the more they get contracts. So, yeah, man, these high school kids need a program like we have. When you go into the NBPA, they have these programs to try to help you. These high school kids don't help you. You know, most of the times, through Ignite, you got overtime. It's a payment now. You can now get paid a little bit in college, and so a lot of these people helping you out advising. Unless it's your mom and dad, and sometimes, let's be honest with you, we love our mom and dads, but sometimes they don't know what's going on. Let's be honest with you, most of them don't. Especially if you come from poverty, where they're education. Like now it's different for us because now we're getting more educated. So now our kids, but our parents and our grandparents, that wasn't like that. And so
they just didn't have that.
They don't understand, and we love them. We just need a program, and that's something that's hopefully NCAA can help with that. But NCAA got their own problems.
So you mentioned OTE and like these other leagues that are kind of popping up. If that was something available like during the time you were going through it all, do you think that's something you would have considered, or do you think you always would have done?
I wasn't ready for it. I'm saying? Me, I wasn't even like I knew I needed time. Some of these people, you might be ready. Like someone like Amani Bates, he's ready. You know what I'm saying? Like there's something like where you see him in high school, you see his three, his range, and sometimes you can get better of just work. Like when I left BC. And now you working out and all you have no class, you're just hooping and you get to go against other pro, you get so much better. Like that year or two, and you go back and play with college kids, it's like night and day. And so when you're in there, you see Jalen Green doing it now, right? I mean, obviously he's gonna need time. He gets his 800,000 to $1 million. He's the number 2 pick. You can't tell him that it would have been better for him to go to Kentucky and win a national championship. Maybe he would have, maybe he wouldn't have. So for me, I wouldn't have done it. But for the right kid in the right situation, and the NBA is now doing such a good job of it now, where they're putting premium on coaching, they're putting you in the leagues, they're putting you in the bubble where you're getting the practicing, and you're seeing it with the kid from Golden State. And the best thing about him is playing for Golden State because he's not playing a lot. He gets to learn Draymond, Steph. Give this kid 2-3 years, you're going to see him watch his skill development in about 3 years.
Before we move on to the transition to the NBA, one thing we got to ask on a lighter note, Craig and Jared, you guys obviously spent a lot of time together in college. Do you guys have any like favorite memories or like fun moments that you guys can look back and remember on? Craig, I know we were talking last night, so I know you got a couple already that you want to talk about.
So one would just be the party that you hosted for us our senior year.
Senior week?
Oh, yeah, senior week. That was just epic. You feel me? That was one of the biggest parties I felt like on campus. And what's funny is people still talk about that till this day. We still have pictures that pop up and different things like that. So it's always an appreciation just for that moment because it was just like, yo, Duds gave us the biggest send-off like I don't think nobody's ever had in the history of BC.
Well, obviously BC's not a party school, but I was the guy that like when you wanted to get a recruit, you let them stay with me because I would throw something and I would let the coaches know, like, listen, I'm gonna throw a party. We're gonna have because let's just be real. Like, I mean, it's hard to get kids at Boston College. Like it ain't. It's hard academically. It's cold as hell out there. Let's be honest with you.
Retweet.
But I will say this though. What people don't understand is, besides Boston, New York and California were the two biggest population when it comes to students coming into BC. So overall, like we had a nice little swagger of you had New York people, kids, black girls, Jamaicans, you had the Cape Verdeans, and then you come down from people from LA and San Diego. So the party I threw for Craig is the mods were the big thing. It's basically a little wooden dorm if you want to stay outside, and I got all four of them to clear out their living rooms, inside, outside, DJ outside. Kind of like what's that little high school party?
Project X?
Huh?
Is it Project
X? It was like
X?
a Project X. That's exactly what it was. It was like a Project X. That's exactly what it was. Man, no, man. I had so much fun, and that's the week where it's just partying all week for you guys. So for me, just to be a part of it, man. Listen, I had nothing else to do. I think I was in summer school, just coming down.
It was a blast. Also, one more question: what did you do with the chair? So we had this chair, the reclining chair, the business chair, the chair that got passed down from Troy to Grant.
I passed it down to somebody. Who did I pass it down to? Me and Sean. We passed it down with a Tyrese.
All right, we gotta ask Tyrese what did he do with
the
chair?
Pass it down. Yeah, pass it down. Nah, man, BC, man, listen, man, BC's it's changed. It's changed a little bit, obviously through times, and it's tough to win. But man, those 4 years, people don't understand, man. Also, too, hockey won a national championship. Matt Ryan football team was top 5. You had Charlie Davis, who before his car accident, he was in US. He was playing for the Olympics for the USA team. Like BC was rolling. I mean, Bill
Belichick was pulling up to the games.
Huh?
Bill Belichick was front row at the game.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh man, that thing was sold out. People were asking me, pay me $400 or $500 for a ticket to our games.
That's crazy.
Because like you got to think about when we first came to ACC, when Duke came to town, Carolina came. Man, we had North Carolina. It was college game day. Come on, Boston College not supposed to get no college game day. Come on, man.
But they did it because of you, man. You know what I'm saying? It's your energy, your IQ. You know what I'm saying? You embody everything that like we stood for and beyond. You know what I'm saying? And the fact of, like I said, you just continually getting better just showed, and that's why it continually started to show in the media. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you've had the career you had too. You know what I'm saying?
Man, I appreciate it. I was me and Craig would always go into the PR room to try to have we had to tell them to get us on Slam Magazine. We were trying to push it, trying to get it, man. We were trying to do everything. Like, man, listen. So it finally took us to go 20-0. We were number 2 in the country to finally. But you know what? Kids gotta understand this though too. Like you gotta deserve it. Winning conquers it all. If it wasn't for winning, people don't remember me and Craig. I don't care if you're a good player or not. If you don't win at BC, no one cares. No one cares. So these kids gotta understand. Yeah, you want to get your numbers, you want to have that stuff, but you want to have 18 and 19 and you don't win, or you average 14 and 15 and you do win. Devin Booker, I talked to him. Devin Booker came off the bench with 6 men and didn't even average 10 points at Kentucky. They win. Now look at him now. Shoot, arguably one of the best shooting guards in the league and one of the top 10 player.
For sure.
Now.
For sure.
With that 20-0 team, do you think there was anything different in like the locker room and then just like the mentality of that team that kind of stood out to you?
I mean, we just knew. By that time, look how many pros we had at that time. Craig is a pro. I'm a pro. Sean Williams is a pro. Sean Williams is a different pro, too. Sean Williams he's not a BC guy. A 6'10", 6'11", all-time shot blocker in BC in 2 years. He's a guy who goes to the Kentuckys. If you're from Texas, he goes to Texas. Boston College? There's no way. I didn't know. I don't know if you knew this. You know Myles Garrett's his brother?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. Myles Garrett, like, look at that tree. His sister is Texas A&M, WNBA. His brother's Myles Garrett, one of the best DNs. Like, he's not supposed to go to BC. So you got 3 pros. Tyrese Rice is a pro in his own. So he might not have been an NBA guy. He played 10-plus years. I think he scored more points than I did at BC. I think he's higher than me. BC. Sean Marshall's a 4-time starter. Lewis Hennett is a 3-time year starter. So we were just so we knew our roles. We were so precise, and to be honest with you, we had a nice cocky arrogance about us that, like, listen, like, even when we lost, we were shocked. So be honest with you.
Yep. But we also did work too, because we would get to gym at night and we would go lift in the mornings. I don't know how many people was doing that. We go lift at 6 in the morning, and then we had a graveyard shift where we was all going in power. Remember that? We all going in power. We had brung oats in there. Remember, we knew Sean was going to be suspended, so we had oats in there for like a month or two, just grinding it out. Handle, shot, this situation, this is going on here. Like, we was doing work already. Like, we was already being pros, knowing that we was going into a tough situation in the ACC, because we knew, like, people kind of hated us for no reason, and it wasn't our fault. It was just the fact that we were going to a different league.
I mean, and if you look at it too, like, we were kind of the opposite, where we all had braids. Our, you know what I'm saying? Like, our own swagger was different. We were Reebok. We were all wearing AIs. It was at this time, it was such a different, we had such a different approach about us. Our facilities were trash. They still have the same facilities now. So just imagine what it was back then. Overall, like, the locker room was as big as a living room. We're all in one there, and we didn't care. You know, like now, you know, you look back, and if you're getting recruited, like, hey, you're gonna go with the nicer situation. At that time, no one wanted us. So overall, you're getting it's like an NBA coach rather coach college kids because they listen. Like, they had sponges with us because we were willing to do anything because no one wanted us, and we get to play at the conference. So it's like, hey, Jared, go run through the wall. All right, here we go. Like, we weren't asking no questions at that time. And so and that's the difference that you guys have on the underdog. Those top rated players sometimes aren't doing that because you've been handed it. Sometimes it takes them to have to fall to be able to do that. For us, we were already falling. We were already at the bottom. So for us, it was like, hey, listen, whatever you need us to do, we're doing it. Let's go.
Just another day.
And what was like that transition like for you going from the Big East to the ACC?
I loved it. My dad's from North Carolina. My dad's from Wilmington, where Jordan's from. So for me, it was like going home. And it's second. So I spent a lot of times in the summer times when I was 7, 8, 9. My mom would ship me to North Carolina for the summer, and I'd be out there at times. So for me to go see NC State, and at that time, and even now, come on, I don't care if you're from the West Coast, South, East Coast, the ACC is the standard. I mean, let's just be real. Carolina Duke is the best rivalry in sports. Everyone knew that. The TV ratings of how it was. Chris Paul just left Wake Forest. Wake Forest is still at an all-time high at that. NC State still NC State. I mean, there were so many different schools at that time that you would go to. Even though Clemson wasn't good, I know Clemson's a powerhouse now in football. When you just went there, V-Tech to Virginia, it was a certain standard of wanting to play there. And that's coming from the Big East, where the Big East won the national championship the year before. It was UConn with Emeka Okafor. So we already coming from that. Such a different style of play, because the Big East, you could foul. They weren't calling nothing. Like, Big East, and it was such a physical thing. So it just helped us evolve of like, okay, hold on. We got to change a little bit. And it took us a little bit. And I think we ended up tying for the first place or second place in the ACC our first year. But it took us a while. We struggled early on. Like, okay, let's get used to it.
We started 0-3.
Well, it started 0-3, yeah. It took us a little bit because we're trying to get to the refs, and I know it sounds crazy looking back on it, but now I see the older I've gotten, these refs are the same refs year in, year out. So when you hear Coach K and you hear Roy Williams, hey, Kevin, boom, boom, they're talking about their first names and over there. I'm like, what? I'm like, what is going on? And it makes sense, but we're coming from a different conference. This, Coach K got the rosary chain holding by his hand, talking to her. Hey, he's talking about how your wife is, and it makes sense because now in the NBA, it's all the same refs. So when someone like Brad Stevens comes into the league, he don't know these refs' name. I know, I've been in the league 10, 15 years. I know, hey, that's Daryl, that's so-and-so, so it takes you a while, man.
And then transitioning from college to the NBA, what was that draft process like for you? Like, what was stressful about it? What did you like about it?
It was stressful. It's unknown. I mean, you got to think about it. If this is an Underdog podcast, no ACC player of the year was at that time not drafted in the first round, let alone close to lottery. My agent is being honest with me. Say, hey, Jared, like, listen, not only you might not be drafted in the first round, you got to go to Orlando and do pre-draft.
Wow.
So I'm over here. I gotta play. So I done gave you 4 years of playing. Literally, there's probably no person who played more than I did in my 4 years. I started every game except for one game. So I done gave you 4 years, 4 NCAA tournaments, and now you tell me I gotta go play. So I go play in that. I play 3-4 games, do the whole draft combine where KD and Odin at this time they're not even working out. That's when Kevin Durant couldn't bench the 135. Remember people were talking about him and not being drafted and whatever. So I'm there, I'm doing all this stuff, and then now at that time there was no limit. Like now in the draft process, you can't train before a certain date. So when I was done, I had like 25, 26 workouts. There was no date time. I told the story is I did a workout in Chicago. I'm supposed to fly to Charlotte. My flight gets canceled at a red eye. I have to stay in the airport because the flight's at 6 a.m. So I sleep in the airport. 6 a.m. I get up, fly to Charlotte. When I get to the workout, they're already working out. I come in there. I am not stretched. I go, to me, in my mind, I had a bullshit workout. In my mind, go figure, that's a team that drafts you. So you just never know. You know what I'm saying? And even on draft day, I have one of my best workouts versus Spurs. Pop says, can you come back on draft day? I tell him no. I'm going to be honest with you, bro. I done 35. I'm not coming back on draft day. So it's just the unknown. Like you go against them, like it's 3-on-3s. You're doing it. I remember one time I'm with Pat Riley in Miami. I do a workout. I can't miss a three. Pat Riley comes up to me. All right, when you catch the ball, don't bring it down. Just catch it from here and shoot. I shot the first 5. I made the first 5. He said, stop. And he walked away. I'm like, what? I'm thinking, I'm about to get drafted by Miami. I'm thinking overall, hey, listen, the way how he goes. But I mean, it's just a crazy process, man. You got workouts from one to another. You might have 2 days in between. I go back to Vegas where I was training that, maybe take a day off and then get a workout in, and then you just literally fly in, hotels, that, and then to draft night. And then for me, worked out. I was the first, I wanted to be a first round just as a guarantee. Like I told you the story about Jordan drafting me, man. It was crazy.
Yeah, I can't imagine that, yo. I had 18 workouts in a
Right.
draft process, bro, and I was dead. Like
Yeah.
I was exhausted. Like 2 teams, I worked out with the Milwaukee Bucks, my home team. I had like 3 more workouts after that. I'm like shut down. Like I can't. Like I couldn't do it. Like that process is crazy. So just to hear you say you had like 25, yo.
Yes, crazy.
Oh man, I was beat. Finding a home in Phoenix for a few years. And then you was like going from team to team after that. Like what was like the mentality and then like adjusted to new teams, new coaches, just new schemes. Like can you kind of take us through that like mentality in that whole process?
Yeah, Phoenix is where got me. I think it was I got traded my second year in December, but it was that whole finishing out there, Shaq's there, Amari, Steve Nash, and this is where I see at this time, Phoenix is a juggernaut offensively. Steve Nash getting everybody paid, number 1 in offense, number 1 in 3-point percentage. They're ahead of the game. You know,
y'all created
they're
that.
what everyone's doing.
Y'all created that wave. Like
yes,
Phoenix created this fast ball.
It really was D'Antoni and Nash. They're the one that really did it. And then overall, Pop after that said, "Hey, we got to change our style if we want to be able to be successful." But I just remember, I was like, "Hold on, this summer." All I'm doing is shooting threes. I see Matt Barnes in the corner. I see Roger Bell. I see these guys. I'm just working on threes. I didn't do no ball handling drills. I just did pin downs and threes and play defense. I come back the year before. I shoot. I think if you can look it up, I think it's 22% in Charlotte. I go from 22% to 46. I was third in the league in 3-point percentage. I'm wide open. Amari's dunking on everyone, so everyone's scared about getting dunked on. So back then, defenses didn't switch. You had the low man had to tag and help the roller and then get out to shooters. That's how the defenses was in the NBA. It's evolved now in the last 5 to 7 years. So I'm getting open late contest threes and I'm just knocking them all down this time. And so now I find this is my identity here. I'm a 3-and-D guy. I'm a high 3. Yes, I have IQ, but at this time, this 3-and-D is getting you paid. And I'm there. I then evolve where we lose Amari, and now I'm starting with Nash. I think I averaged the most points in my career. It's like around 13 and a half, where now I get to put the ball down a little bit more. I'm seeing it. I'm guarding the best guys on each night. I'm actually a two guard. Grant Hill's the three. So I'm naturally a 3-4. Now I've lost a lot of weight. I'm like 222, 224, playing two guard. And so now I'm seeing how my development is. I'm loving it. Nash leaves to go to the Lakers. I had 1 year with Goran. Now we're in transition. Now I'm back where, hey, listen, we're losing now. Now I'm trying to, but I'm on the other side of it. I'm on, hey, Jared, we want to feature you and play you. We're playing our young guys, so I'm on the good side. You can be on the good side or the bad side this time. I'm doing well. Next year they fire the coach. They trade me to the Clippers. I think it's going to be the best situation for me. I'm happy going home. CP, Lob City. And I'm hurt. It's the first time in my whole career, high school, college, where I'm having knee problems. I don't know what it is. They're doing the PRP shots. I'm over here doing different stuff. Not really, I know. And it's literally, in my opinion, my worst year of my career because of what's at stake. They're playing for a championship. I'm not playing at the level I need. I get traded to Milwaukee, and at this time, Milwaukee is considered you're done. You get traded in Milwaukee, like your career's almost you're up out of here. And in a way I'm mad. And so I get with this trainer who I actually use to this day. He was a trainer, Chris McKenzie, came from Ohio State, was there their first year. He fixes my knee, and the whole problem was my glutes weren't firing, so all the pressure went to my knee. So now you see everyone before they do the band work. They weren't doing the band work back then when it was 10, 12 years ago. And he's the one that put me onto it. I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm sweating off the bands. And now my glutes are activating, and now my knee's good. Milwaukee has the second biggest turnaround in NBA history of being worse than Philly. And this is when Sam Hinkie and them were tanking. They were worse than them. We go to the playoffs. We're a 7 seed. Yeah. We lose to D Rose and the Bulls and Jimmy Butler. I have back surgery that summer. I have a herniated disc. I get traded to the Wizards.
Yeah, to Washington.
With the Wizards. And now I'm the older guy. I'm starting that transition where, okay, listen, they need me. Paul Pierce just left to go to the Clippers. I'm here now. John Wall, Bradley Beal. It's John Wall's team, but Bradley Beal's like itching it for it to be him. So there's tension there because there's two young guys trying to find them at that time. We missed the playoffs by one game. I think 7th or 8th in three-point percentage. I then get my biggest payday of my deal, my 3 years, $30 million, to go back to Phoenix. And now I see Phoenix is like, hey, they just had 2 draft picks, Marquise Chris and Dragon Bender, both top 10. Hey, Jared, we want you to be the mentor. My first year, it's December. Hey, Jared, we don't want you to play no more games. Just mentor. At this time, listen, I'm only 30. I'm 31 at that time, 31. Like, I still got some left in the tank. But you know what? You've paid me this money. Say no more. So for 2 years, I'm in there mentoring Booker, Tyler Eulis, all these young guys, Josh Jackson. And to be honest with you, it's a messed up organization. Couple GMs get fired, couple coaches get fired. Sarver's not doing a good job. And he's my guy as the owner of holding stability. I'm trying to teach these guys in film session, Booker, these are bad habits. You might be able to shoot 30 times today, but it ain't the right 30 shots. You're gambling on defense. I then ended up helping me get traded to Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. Now, Brooklyn at this time they've just been bad for a whole time. We make it to the playoffs. D'Lo becomes an all-star. I get to help him out. I have the whole beef with Ben Simmons and helping Jared Allen and these Karis LeVerts out. And then the biggest thing of my career what helped me is at that time is I'm in the last year of my deal. During the year, I talked to Rich Paul and the Lakers like, yo, I want to come to LA next year. So I'm working on the LA while I'm in Brooklyn in a sense of like, hey, listen, I understand this is my last year, my last year with Brooklyn. At this time, they're set up to either go for Kevin Durant. I know what they're doing. So overall, I know it's a business. So now I'm thinking to myself, hey, there might not be no room. Let me start looking too. So you know how like that's what happened. That's in today's day. It's happening now. You're trying to set yourself up. Now we're still trying to win. I'm helping D'Lo become an all-star. Jared Allen, we're helping him get the $100 million that he just got. We're telling him about preparation. We have a players-only film session, so I'm all in. But at the same time, as LA's in the back of my mind, play with Braun. Let me finish it up with him. They said, I told him, hey, I'll come for the minimum. At this time, I know I'm a minimum player. And so now I'm thinking for me to squeeze 2-3 more years left, you have to get with a superstar and a winning team because they're going to value that veteran on the bench. Like, hey, listen, I'll take care of the young guys. I'll take care of Kuzma. I'll take care of the locker room. And Braun loved it because in film session, I get to call out Anthony Davis and Rondo for bullshitting. Kuzma, give the ball up to Braun. These are certain situations on a championship team. We win a chip. I come back. We go again. We lose AD in the playoffs. And so for me, it's just a lot of these players like, listen, man, you and at this time I had my boys, oh, you should be playing more. You should be shots. Fellas, that's not how it rolls. Like, that's not how it goes. And so what it is if you want to have a longevity, you got to be able to tune some people out. Hey, this is my role for this team. Because these GMs, now I'm a coach now. I'm in these meetings. I'm in these meetings with these GMs now, these coaches, how they talking. Who they want to keep 12, 13, 14. Who do we want to guarantee? The 14th man's not playing. The 13th man, like, we need you to be ready just in case. Hey, man, he's a hell of a practice guy. Man, he's great on the bench. Oh, you know what? He took him along. He called him out. He called him out so I didn't have to. Because the coaches don't want to have to call you all the time. And so I did all that. To the point is, Frank Vogel for the Lakers, he wanted me back. He was calling me, telling wanted me back. It just didn't end up work out. And I took the job here in Dallas.
Man, that was crazy because you jumped right into my next question.
Yeah.
I was about to ask you, like, what is the most important aspect of, having that longevity, having that long career in the NBA, and how do you define like your value in that longevity like aspect?
Yeah. Every team has different value. I would say for overall is the assholes, the non-workers, it's over for those guys. Like, unless you're the number one guy, and we saw with AI towards the back end, you have to be such a hard worker because let's just be real, man. You got all day. You got 2 hours at the gym, maybe 2.5. You shouldn't be late. They're not worried. They're not trying to find nobody. They're here like, just get your work in. You got the whole rest of the day. Practice is usually at 11. Get there by 10. Get in the training room. You're there from 11 to 11:45 in the weight room. You're on the court from 12 to 1 and you're done. Like, so the hard working, that's a minimum requirement. So like that it should be, from the beginning. Next thing is leadership. And this is where the young guys is not being developed. Who is a leader? And a leader got to be the best player. I lose 20 pounds in season, which is almost impossible to do at that time for the Lakers. And I'm not even playing. It's so funny. Now AD has the same injury now. And now he's calling me, hey, what did you do? Because he saw me. Oh, damn, Jared's in the weight room doing cardio an hour before practice. He's sweating, and now he's practice time because in practice, I don't get to practice. It's the top 10 guys. But he sees me going crazy, and then now practice is over. Now I'm in the weight room doing stuff for my knee. And so it's just your value is being a pro, talking to the coach. Hey, you know what? So-and-so, hey, you know what? So-and-so is having a bad morning. Let him slide today. Because everyone, we all humans. It could be baby mama trouble, mom, finances, you get caught cheating. There's a whole 100 different things that players go through. So in the back of the bus is the airplanes, sometimes watching film with the young guys. These coaches see that. These the GMs now travel on the plane. They travel and see everything, man. And I've seen it last year. So add value in so many different ways as you can. At the end of the day, you're still a hooper. Be ready. Work on your craft. And when your opportunity, I believe every player gets an opportunity, but sometimes you don't get two. So make the most of it once you get your one time.
So speaking on that, winning with the Lakers, the internet and fans of the NBA can be ruthless, right? And there are obviously a lot of haters out there that I'm sure you've heard a lot of crap and smack talk about yourself. What do you wish like fans would kind of understand a little bit better about life in the NBA and how much more important it is than just how you perform on the floor?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to understand. It's hard to even to explain to them because they don't know. So we could be here all day of if you don't understand the grind of, which people don't understand is this is you having a long successful career gives you opportunity not to play at the end. And so the value is of that is you can't play everybody and there's certain value. And I will say this: for the most part, Lakers fans understood it because Braun and AD are more vocal. You think Braun and AD just want me to hang out? It's the Haslams, the Jawan Howards. They see it and it makes sense now because now you see I'm coaching. And if I wasn't coaching, I would be in a GM program and become a GM, understanding of, oh, what player you want? Oh, you want to trade for that player? You want to get that? Like when we won the championship, we had to get Markeith. I'm on the phone with Markeith, talking to him having to come. They wanted Drummond. I talked to Drummond. So I'm doing all the backstory calls and all that with him because I've been in the league 14 years. I know him, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Listen, you get about 20 minutes a game. How you play, you might be able to get 25, 30. Braun going to get you off on this way. You're going to have to change your game on this way, but it's going to be an opportunity for you to win at the highest level. And if you don't want that, you might want to go to maybe another team where you might get higher stats, and maybe it works out for you. I don't know. So everyone does that. So for a fan, his understanding is they might not know because you're not in the locker room. You're not there where I bring Braun and Dennis Schroeder into a room and I watch them film. Hey, how do we get this right? Like, what are you guys not on page? And that's not all vets are doing that. The David West of the Warriors, when they went, that was their guy. And it's such a dying breed. We're looking for that for our Mavericks. We're looking for that for a leader to help Luka out, help mentor, call people out. For it's not like that's a strong quality where only certain players have it. Braun, CPs of the world, Kyle Lowry now in his later of his career. There's certain people like if you look at the Warriors, everyone would tell you the leader's Draymond. Steph Curry's by far the best player, but the leader, the guy who holds everyone accountable, is Draymond. And so it's a dying breed. So for fans, I don't expect you to understand, but I would just say just listen to the interviews of what people are trying to tell you, and the reason why they're not trying to get this best player is because even though this guy doesn't play, he might not be as good. He's going to help the other 9 to 10 that play. Even if it's 1 or 2% better, that helps us win more games.
Okay. And so wrap up your playing career a little bit. You obviously play with a lot of teams, a lot of different players. You interacted with a lot of different people. Which player would you say was most influential to you throughout your years?
Steve Nash is most influential of having a long career of my body, understanding it. He was ahead of the acupuncture IVs that we were doing. The whole, I don't know, what is that called? The little thing, the little fake freezer you put in, you freeze for like 2 minutes. What is that called? The chamber, something chamber?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I remember doing that my second and third year, going to like a back of an office doing that with him. And now every team has that in their locker room. Like, just to understand the body. And I remember him telling us, like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Injury process. He was telling me back then, hey, listen, don't drink water in plastic, only glass because it's more pure. Like, he was telling me this like 9, 10. So Steve Nash, when it comes to that, the most I've ever laughed was Shaq. Funniest teammate, craziest, wild, run around butt naked in the locker room, just being a fool. I don't know if you could do that anymore. How stuff is now. He was crazy. The most fun and the most gratifying was Braun. To sit back and look at him, to see how you hear him talk, him getting the hybrid chamber, see him sleep for 30 minutes, him going to the weight room the first one in there, getting his shots, taking care of his body, him being a leader, taking the group text, getting people together before the season. I just to see it all the way around, But then I also had a good experience of seeing CP how he worked. Giannis from 19 to now MVP, back-to-back MVP, where I saw him, his work ethic from being, you see the picture when he's super skinny, that's when I had him, to now talking to Devin Booker. When Devin Booker, he called me about CP. Hey, what do you think about that? I said, yo, you need CP. The world needs to see how good you are. CP gets you to the playoffs. You can do the rest. So seeing these all guys develop from here to here, man, it's been a fulfilling career.
What's that? The transition from the player to the coach?
Crazy. It's been crazy in the sense of because you got to think our season got such delay because of COVID. So I ended in August. In my mind, I'm getting ready to be a player. I'm training. I go from literally August. So once you imagine, everyone knows August is the time where athlete picks it up for the NBA season. Jerry, you're not going back to the Lakers. All right, what are we going to do? I get a call 2 days later from Jay Kidd. Hey, I got a front of the bench opportunity for you. And people don't even know how rare it is from a player to front of the bench. Usually, Luke Walton, Derek Fisher became a head coach. Jay Kidd became a head coach. It's like 3 or 4 people it's ever happened to. So literally, within 72 hours, I go from a player to coach like that. And so then now 2 weeks later, I'm in a different locker room. I'm in a small locker room compared to the big locker room. I'm in the front of the bus. So it was a mental mess up. Like, man, I'm in the back of the plane, in the front of the plane. I'm used to gambling. Now I'm watching film. So to me, it took me like I'm now starting to find my rhythm. If you look at right now, look at here. I got the my scouts versus the Warriors. I'm gonna show you guys here in a second. I'll show you a little here, right here. I'll show you here. It's the Warrior scout. So I'm in here now as a player. You know, I get my little cardio and elliptical or a little gym in the morning, and I come here. And now I'm going from that where I got 29 games I scout. Most teams, most assistant coaches 13 to 15. How we do it, it's a little bit different. I got 29. So in 1 year, I'll scout what assistant coach does in 2 years. So that's how much development I'm gonna get through this team, and so to help me become a head coach here, hopefully not in the foreseeable future. So for me, it's been. I love it when it's my scout because now I go in front of the team. Hey, listen, you know what? Let's try something. Let's go double AD every time. I don't want him. You know, these guys care about stats. Let's take his, instead of him getting, you know what, you're only getting 15 tonight. Now, guys like Steph Curry, it's hard because you move without the ball. But the guys like, you know, when you play, let's say Kevin Durant, and there's no Kyrie, let's double Durant every time. I didn't have him as, let's double Durant. Instead of him getting 35, you know what, Durant, we want you to have 20. Let's see if he wants to pass it every time. We just did it to Jokic last night. If you look at the game, every time Jokic got the ball, we doubled him every time. He made him pass every time. He still had 25 and 15 or whatever. But he's actually a guy who doesn't care about stats. He's so unselfish, it doesn't affect him. Some of these guys, it does. So I like to have the little mind. It's like playing chess, man. It's a move. You get to have different counters. They don't always work. Players will always question them. But my whole thing is if I talk to the player, I'm watching the film. Hey, listen, this is what they're doing. The Warriors, they're going to score 110. Let's make it be different. Curry's going to get his 12 threes. All right, how about Wiggins? How about Jordan Poole? Let's, you know, like, can we give Draymond a different look who's so cerebral? He's seen everything. Well, let's try something different. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. We got this new thing that we trying out right here. It's called the microwave or the oven theory, right? It's kind of like,
Okay.
you know, just the process now to where everything is like an instant highlights. Like all the younger kids, like they like to have like these highlights. So that's how they like watch the
For
game.
sure.
It's like they're watching the games for just the highlights. They want to see the crossover, the instant things. And things that they don't see is like this underdog
Yep.
process, is that oven, right? To where you got to chop these onions up, you got to cut these potatoes this way, and you got to really, you know what I'm saying, season it and have that whole process for when it goes in the oven that the normal eye doesn't see. So we got a few little, you know what I'm saying, a little things that I want to throw at you. So Zach LaVine dunks or Damian Lillard's leadership? Which one would you like to have?
I'm actually cool with Dame. I've heard stuff from him as a leader. I have heard because I like the way he says. I'm gonna go with Dame's leadership by his press conference and what he stands on. Now, I love Zach LaVine's dunks. Now, if you gave me Zion's dunks in high school or at Duke, I might go with Zion, something like that. Like I'm gonna go with that instead. But Dame, I like what Dame stands for as a man, his loyalty, good or bad. He was the first one to stand on Carmelo when Carmelo was out the league. He talks about stuff, so I'm going to go with Dame's leadership.
Tyson Chandler's rebounding or Charles Oakley's toughness?
Charles Oakley's toughness. I played with TC. TC's the guy that did that out. I would just say toughness, man. Like, if you looked at Oakley, I liked Oakley, like, not overly talented, strong, hard work. You could just tell the way he is, mid-range assassin, but like his toughness, it's a fear factor.
Sure.
People to this day are still fearful of Charles Oakley. He's still fighting bouncers in clubs outside Vegas, right? Because he don't care if he win or lose. And those are the people you're the most scariest about because he could get knocked out one day and be ready to go the next week. Those are the scariest ones. So I'm gonna go with Charles
the whole team. Like, that's the enforcer, you feel me? So
for sure. Hey, that's not Michael Jordan's boy for no reason. Jordan's no dummy.
Okay, so VC's dunk contest or T-Mac's 13 points in 33 seconds?
VC's dunk contest. That's iconic, legendary. I mean, listen, like you knew exactly where you were at when that dunk contest. Shaq with the video cameras looking at it like that. Vince Carter, man, like
it's legendary for sure.
It's ridiculous.
Appreciate you on that too, bro.
This one's called Overpaid or Underrated. So we got a couple more questions up, but this one's called Overpaid or Underrated. And since you were a definition of a valuable role player, would you rather have had the star role player for 1 year for the same amount of money, or taking an overseas role where you consistently were a superstar and had a max contract over there as well?
Same amount of money?
Same amount of money. But in the NBA, it's only 1 year being the star role. And overseas, it's the same amount of years as you played in your role, your valuable role player.
I'm gonna say NBA just because when we grew up as kids, that was the goal. Your goal was to make it to the NBA. You made it. I don't care if you played in one game, let alone having a 1 year. Because even with that, you can go overseas, and even if you're a role player. So for me, a 1 year to me has more of a value than overseas playing, having a successful career. Both are very good, but give me the 1 year star of the NBA.
I could dig it. Yeah, but or there's some places. Would there ever have been some places that you were like, you know what, I could play out here?
Oh man, Tel Aviv, Maccabi. I could play there. I could play Barcelona. You talking about with them? I've heard good things about Moscow. I don't know about the weather, but what's one in Greece? What's one in Greece that's really good? Montenegros, I'll do that. And I know it's not overseas, but I'll do China for 3-4 months.
For real. Yeah.
Hey, I heard a story from someone that Pizza Hut was fine dining out there. Like it was like a 5-star, 4-star restaurant, white cloth. Like,
they eat the pizza with a fork and a knife.
For sure. That's what I heard. That's what I heard. I'm saying, yeah, give me that. I don't mind
to end us off today, what would you say throughout your entire career as a player and a coach? What would you say the biggest lesson you learned was?
The biggest lesson I learned is, wow, that's a great question. I would say you have to believe in yourself more than anything, because your mom, your brother, your cousin, they're not going to be on it before you are. So anything in life, if you're a doctor, for this, you have to be able to see it. Now, they might love you. Your friends might eventually. Now, once they can see it from their path, like, okay, listen, a lot of times you get to college, oh man, he got a chance. Or they go to the high school championship game, you have 30 to win, but it happens way before then. So the belief in oneself, you're not going to get that from somewhere. And yes, you might have a mom. Hey, my mom was somebody, Jared, whatever you want to do in life, I'm going to support. I'm going to drive you. Hey, you know what? If you want to make it to NBA, okay. But overall, you got to have the belief in yourself before anybody. And you have to be able to understand that most people that come across can't see it from your vision, so they're not going to agree with you of how you go about it. So you just have to be such a fanatic in your process of it, because no one's going to believe in it except for you until you get to a certain point of somewhat success, and then people can see it.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree with that, because it's just like I can attest to it, waking up, going to Fairfax at like 6:30 in the morning, getting that practice in, getting that. Now seeing the accolades. Now people are like, oh, yes, you do got a chance. You can go. So, like, it's definitely all about believing in yourself and putting your actions to use. If I know I want to make it to the NBA, I need to have my butt out here on the court. I need to be doing different things. I need to, who are my peers that are working just as hard as me? Now I'm in LA. I know dudes in New York are 3 hours ahead. I know dudes overseas are 7-8 hours ahead. So what am I going to do to differentiate myself?
How many times as a coach now, you're coaching now, I'm coaching now, you might say, listen, hey, next year this is my starter. Summer goes by. Oh, you see so-and-so? Wait, hold on here. Like, and you might not even have thought it. And you a coach, and you get ready to coach him, and in that 3 months, 4 months, he must have done something. You don't know what he did. Maybe you had him for a little bit, because everyone now has their own trainers, and another kid who you thought he didn't get any better. It happens all the time. It happens all the time, man.
I think that's the perfect way to wrap this up for episode 2 of the Underdogs Podcast. Special shout out, Jared Dudley. Thank you so much for coming out. We really appreciate the time.
For sure.
Anytime, man. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Doug.